Every week I talk to musicians who have found new ways to adapt to the pandemic, but what about venues? What are they doing? Today we're going to talk about that, so stick around. Welcome to Charlie's Open Mic. My name is Charlie Mosbrook. On this week's show, we're going to talk to Joel Simpson, a co-director of the 2A Street Coffee House in Downers Grove, Illinois. We're going to talk about the innovative ways that they've adapted to the pandemic. He's also a musician, and we're going to talk about that for a little bit. But first, let's listen to him play.
Could I give you $50 to let you hear me holler? Or be my best friend for an hour? Have your nurse walk me in and say, hey, how you been? Tell me I'm not crazy anymore. I already knew I was, and it's because I let you tell me so. Happy days, they came and went. Money earned is soon spent. Gotta wake up Monday morning again. You can call it what you please if you want to label me, but it won't change a damn thing anyway. There's one thing that I've learned, and it's not to discern life from insanity. You've got to take it as it comes and live each day one by one, and just let life go. You know what they say is just another cliche to justify the difference in me. There are things that we do just to prove we don't have to be controlled by someone else. You know what makes it worse? It's still control, but in reverse. But who's got the time to change? As if anybody could, or if anybody would. I don't really want to know. I would live my life the same and worry about everything. It's the only thing I can do. I would live my life the same. It's the only thing I can do. I would live my life the same. It's the only thing I can do.
Welcome to the show, Joel Simpson.
Thank you, Charlie. I'm
to
glad
see
to be
you.
here.
You're from Downers Grove, Illinois?
Right now I'm in Downers Grove, and I'm at my recording studio and record company. It's called Randomosity Records. But I grew up in a town called Darien, which is about 10 minutes away. Both of those suburbs are about 15 miles southwest of Chicago.
When did you start playing music?
My father started bringing me around to these events that were sponsored by 2A Street Coffee House, but also another organization near us called the Plank Road Folk Music Society. It's just a nonprofit society that puts on community events like sing-arounds and barn dances and helps other organizations in the area present folk festivals. In the Chicago area here, there are, half a dozen concert series, several significant festivals. So some that come to mind are like Fox Valley Folk Festival here, Woodstock Folk Festival, both long-running festivals that have been running for decades. And then we have things like Acoustic Renaissance and Maple Street Chapel and Old Town School of Folk Music in Chicago as well. We're pretty lucky in this area in that we have a large population and several DJs that are on weekly promoting folk music. And there's all these organizations that come together and help each other out. And we all kind of co-volunteer in each other's organization.
What was your first instrument?
Guitar. I started strumming along on the guitar I got to take lessons from people like Mark Dvorak at my local park district, or through this Plank Road Folk Music Society that I mentioned. Played in rock bands, throughout high school. When I got to college, I decided I would study music. One of my instructors was a woman named Muriel Anderson. She also grew up in Downers Grove here and is internationally known as a harp guitar player. She lives in Nashville now. I had the influence of people like that teaching me, which I was really grateful for. When I got to college, I decided I would study classical guitar, specifically that method. I loved it. I just absolutely loved it and fell in love with that style. That's kind of what got me back to finger picking and folk kind of sounds. And then I resisted for many, many years to be a folk musician. I studied music business in college at Elmhurst College. It was the second program in the country that started music business, and my parents were like, you can't just go be a folk singer, you've got to back it up with something. And that program was nice because it taught me about audio engineering, it taught me about music business. It required not only studying an instrument and practicing that, but to understand marketing and accounting and things like that I would need in the music business. Being in Chicago, it's great because there's a lot of industry here. So being able to get internships or, experience, that was a benefit. And so I was able to do an internship with Sony Columbia Records under their A&R manager. It really taught me at a young age to be aware, of yourself professionally and how you present yourself.
So your formal education was in the music industry, and you interned with Sony. How did you carry that introduction to the music industry into what you're doing today?
I began teaching private music lessons, and I also took a corporate job at a place called Peterson Electro-Musical Products. It's in a suburb just south of Chicago, maybe about a half hour from my house. They built Peterson strobe tuners. So you might remember, if you've been backstage or been in a workshop of a guitar repair person, that there's these type of strobe tuners that have a spinning disc on them, and the lights flash a frequency of input behind it. And if it looks like that disc is holding still, that means your instrument's in tune. And it turns out they're very precise, and they're the most precise instrument tuner that you can get, aside from an oscilloscope. They needed somebody to come in and handle the marketing, the advertising, and the sales of that product line. And they created a job for me when I got out of college. And I worked that for several years, took their sales, further than they've ever been, and got them certified for international sales, and worked toward things like getting them stocked in some of the larger retail chains and things like that. Part of that experience was also going to instrument manufacturers or hanging out backstage at some of the larger venues. Like, I got a laminated pass to hang out with the Rolling Stones, not with the Rolling Stones, but with the crew of the Rolling Stones, which to me was exciting enough just to sit back at United Center and watch all of the happenings, even to like hold one of Keith Richards' guitars. The guitar tech let me try one. And I was like, is that okay? In order to stand like right where Mick Jagger stands and look out at the empty, stadium in front of me, like 10 in the morning before the show started. But I also got to go to things like the NAMM show every year. And then on occasion, the international shows like the Music Messe in Germany. For a kid at 24 or something like that, those are some of the best experiences you can imagine. It gave me a perspective of how small of a world it is, and how if you just, put your mind to it and kind of figure out who the players are and figure out how to get a door into their world, you might succeed if you put together a good presentation and you believe in yourself and put together a strong, everything professionally and artistically and those kind of things.
So now you're running your own recording studio, and did you build that?
Yes, I do quite a bit of mobile recording. For the last 15 years, I've recorded for the Jazz Institute of Chicago, and I go and I record their concerts. They present monthly concerts in different neighborhoods throughout Chicago, particularly in areas that might be underserved for having live music and like high caliber live music. And so the Jazz Institute, along with the Chicago Park District and some other organizations, put together these concerts called the Jazz City Concerts and present them throughout the neighborhoods in Chicago and bring in, some pretty significant names as far as jazz music. That's been a great experience because I've gotten to know so many great jazz musicians along the way that I count myself lucky to have met and, learned from as far as musically. It kind of parallels folk music, in my opinion, because of how community based it is. You kind of help each other out because there's nobody else to help you.
In addition to working in the music industry, you are a musician and you perform in a duo with Jennifer Ashley, who we can hear a little bit in the background, I understand. She's
Yeah.
working on piano parts. Do you want to
Right.
tell us a little bit more about that and how you all came together as a duo?
Jennifer and I started working together in 2016. She first came to me for guitar lessons. When we started practicing the songs that she had learned, I would start chiming in with some harmonies, and we were just finding like a really beautiful connection of the way our voices fit and how we like sang, against each other. And then we just got the notion to start performing together. We were both songwriters at that point, but hadn't written songs together. And so we decided to start performing together. We decided to form a partnership, and now she's co-owner of Randomosity Records. We're currently working on our next album. It's titled Hello, Mrs. Sun. It's going to be all original, whereas our last one was all, cover songs. So we're excited to show the world, our songwriting skills. We've been working with Carrie Estrin, to develop this project a bit. So we also, at the beginning of this year, decided we would do a career assessment with Carrie. And so that's been a very enlightening experience for me to face some of the obstacles that I just wanted to ignore instead of, overcoming them or work toward getting past them. The pandemic kind of hit at at a time when I needed to like stop and take a pause and look at my life. My father passed away in May, and it wasn't COVID related, but it was kind of sudden. I had a vision that I knew he was going to die. Some specific messages come through to me, which were to talk to my brother and my sister, to work on healing and, peace within myself, but also to, express love and pride in my children and make sure that they know I love them. And also take care of my mom, who was kind of being a caregiver for my dad at that point. I was already experiencing kind of a deep, like universe, spiritual, prompting to look at my life deeply and try to make those changes that I need to make. And then pandemic hit, right? And everybody kind of had to take that pause.
So this year is the 50th anniversary of the 2A Street Coffee House. And during the 50th anniversary, we've gone to virtual concerts, and 2A Street has asked you to step in and become their new director. How did you end up taking that position?
Back in July, when the pandemic had closed down the in-person concerts, the team that was volunteering had set up being able to go virtual, but they just wanted a little extra help, with somebody who was maybe more familiar with YouTube and Facebook. They invited Jennifer and I to be co-directors of the 2A Street. I'd been hanging around there, since I was a little kid. I claim that as the first place I ever performed. It was an open mic with my dad and my brother, and we went up and we did 3 fiddle tunes on guitars. I really didn't think I was ready, but I just wanted to be a part of the 2A Street, and I knew that sort of opportunity would not come again probably in my lifetime. So we took that on and are helping try to morph the 2A Street into the virtual world, and then looking forward to opening in person again when it's safe to do so, but then adding that virtual element to it. Tim Kendall was the director and asked us to join in. He is still assistant director now, and many of the volunteers that were there are still there. We've kind of retooled it for this virtual presentation mode. We love it. It's been 20 or 21 weeks of virtual shows now, after being shut down for about 14 weeks. We run 50 shows a year, and then we also partner up with that Plank Road Folk Music Society that I mentioned, and we do community events like sing-arounds and barn dances when those are safe. Our virtual sing-arounds now are on Zoom meeting, and they're really a lot of fun. Being able to present artists virtually has been such a great experience. We are a nonprofit organization. We don't ticket our events, so it's come and it's donate if you can. We've been presenting these weekly on Friday nights, and it's been fantastic because we can get artists from everywhere. We had Jim and Susie Malcolm from Scotland, one year or 1 week, and how great is that we can get artists transatlantic? And then we've had audience members who knew of the two-way street, but, now live out of state and can watch, virtually. And it's been just a great experience. We've been celebrating the virtual 50th celebration all of November and into December. And our plan is really Jennifer's idea to present each week as a decade, a celebration of a decade. And since it's 50 years, we started at 2010s and then went 2000 and then 90s and 80s, and we're not through with it yet. So please tune in if you get a chance to see. So we're trying to present artists that were on the stage at Two-Way Street during those decades. I remember talking about being from Downers Grove, and so many people knew Two-Way Street as like a first kind of impression of this area. And I'm realizing what a name it is and how recognized it is in the folk world as one of those kind of, you got to play there places. I remember Michael Smith's last time at Two-Way Street, and, he didn't need to play the Two-Way Street anymore, but he did because he loved the Two-Way Street, and he remembers, when he needed to play there, so it was kind of cool to like see those kind of people, come through. And we're trying to give some new folks a chance too. Starting next year, we have a very special matinee concert. We usually, when there's a holiday, don't have a concert. And so we're going to do a Sunday matinee with Zoe Mulford. And I'm just so excited to have her. I'm a huge fan, and it almost gives me goosebumps thinking about it. We were able to do a matinee, which is definitely more convenient for her since she's living in England now. We're going to kick off the year that way. And then we've got some great artists lined up. I'm just excited to continue the Two-Way Street and the tradition that it is.
When the pandemic hit, a lot of nonprofit venues were able to just shut their doors or move to completely virtual presentation of music. For a lot of privately owned venues, this wasn't possible. They have leases that they need to pay. They have electric bills. They have staff. They have all kinds of overhead that they need to maintain. The ability to just shut their doors wasn't really there, and a lot of these venues are struggling. With that, I want to encourage you to go to your favorite venues, to their websites, and try to figure out what they're doing to try to stay alive and support those methods. In Cleveland, we have something called Cleveland Rocks Past, Present, and Future, and that's an organization that's helping to aid some of the venues around town. I'm sure across the country there are many organizations like that. One of my favorite venues, called the Grog Shop, has been selling T-shirts, and that's been helping them to support their staff and things like that. What I'm saying is these places need help, so please do look for ways to help them. Let's keep the music alive and keep those venues open. She stares out of the her eyes explode. She dreams of another day in a far-off distant shore, and her hopes have departed. She's just trying to get through the day, and trapped here with her dreams on hold, and her spirit, it starts to fade. She doesn't know what she wants. It isn't all that clear. She doesn't know where she wants to be, and just anywhere else but here. She doesn't know where she wants to be, just anywhere else but here. He thinks about her a lot, and thinks about his own destiny. He doesn't like his place on earth, and he wishes that he were free. I could have been a baseball star, he said. I had a real nice glove. I could have taken this thing so far if I'd was stuck with my first love. doesn't know what he wants. It isn't all that clear. He doesn't know where he wants to be. Just anywhere else but here. He doesn't know where he wants to be. Just anywhere else but here. She ponders deep in her soul, and he looks up to the sky. She prays that life will be better for us before we die. If we could be right here in this moment and let the sunlight shine in all our lives, I wish just once that we wouldn't want to be anywhere else but here. I wish just once that we wouldn't want to be anywhere else but here. Thank you for watching Charlie's Open Mic this week, and thank you to Joel Simpson for sitting down and talking to me about the Two-Way Street Coffee House and his music career. As always, please hit that subscription link down below. Please ring the bell for notifications of upcoming episodes. You can always find us at charliesopenmic.com and find our Patreon link to help support the show. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.